What's up? It's Jenny LSQ. Welcome to episode 17 of my LSQ podcast, which, more importantly, is part 2 of an interview with Conor Oberst of Bright Eyes and Desaparecidos and beyond. Thanks to everyone who checked out the first part and for all your sweet feedback as well. By the way, you can always reach me on Twitter, @JennyLSQ. So just to catch you up on the first half of the interview in case you haven't gotten to it yet, we talked about Conor's earliest childhood musical influences. Things like tagging along with his older brothers to all-ages punk shows in his native Omaha, or hanging out and learning everything he could at the local record store. We also discussed his high school band, Commander Venus, and some hilarious memories from that era, and the initial recordings as Bright Eyes. And in this second part of the interview, you'll hear us discuss how some of Conor's more contemporary influences entered the picture, specifically Bob Dylan. And we'll delve into Conor's songwriting and lyric writing process, which I just find so fascinating as someone who regards Conor as one of the finest lyricists of his generation, or, in my opinion, any other for that matter. Also, don't forget, if you're listening to this podcast when it's still new, Conor and his Mystic Valley band are on the road right now. Check ConorOberst.com for more info, but you don't want to miss that show if you can possibly avoid that particular feeling of absence and loss. Life's hard, but you can go to some good shows, Alright, let's get into it. Conor, Part 2 on LSQ. After you went, as a kid into this super hyper deep dive into, Indian punk stuff or whatever, when did you start revisiting the even older stuff, your sort of Bob Dylan-y stuff?
Same thing, back to the record store and back to Simon Joyner and back to my older friends, where it's nobody knows who Simon Joyner is, so it's that's why it's kind of funny to even say it this way, but right. Probably the reason I like Bob Dylan, and of course I remember learning to play Blow in the Wind when I was 10, but whatever. My parents were not Dylan heads. They were they had his greatest hits or whatever.
Right.
But I'm a huge Dylan fan and have subsequently absorbed all of his records. Well, maybe not the last 10, but up until the Frank Sinatra records. No, but all of my, affinity for what you'd call kind of folk or country stuff. My favorite, Townes Van Zandt, John Prine, Dylan. Even my parents were Neil Young fans, but even more deep dive shit on Neil Young, and just kind of who I would consider my long-term heroes all came from kind of a backhanded way of this is influential to
this other thing you like.
Other thing,
yeah.
Or this lo-fi '90s tape culture, Joyner and John Darnielle and Lou Barlow.
Same. I think that's how you do it, right?
Yeah.
Is you're okay, where did they get it from?
Yeah.
And
and because of the record store, they were able to be and listen to this, and this is, what I mean, and here's this Chris Christopherson record, or here's this Townes Van Zandt record, or here's this, Phil Oakes record, or whatever, this
right.
stuff that I probably would have never come to on my own, but because I knew that it influenced these more current artists that I was admiring at the time, made me interested enough to go and investigate their predecessors, which, no offense to all of them, but I ended up in a lot of cases liking the predecessors more, but I had to get there somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dylan is weirdly the gift that keeps on giving to me. I feel there's so many amazing records and amazing, even when the music is not exactly that interesting. It's just, just the word, because I'm, obviously I think about words a lot and think about words to melody lines a lot, and there's a reason why he's kind of not really disputed as the best songwriter, because it's if for that thing,
yeah,
he is empirical evidence, he's the best.
Right.
that thing.
Right.
You
Well,
know?
he's the best
Which-
Bob Dylan there will ever be.
right.
That's for sure.
And I feel like, what I do is similar enough that I would be bullshitting if I wasn't like, yeah, obviously, like, Bobby D is fucking sick, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
He's the
his
maestro.
shit it's hot. I mean, sure, you can get into, like, the weeds and there's 1,000 missteps or not that great of songs, but the guy's written, how many songs has that guy written? Like, thousands of songs.
Yeah.
It's like, well, and if you're at all a songwriter interested in, like, words and, like, you know, like, putting the human experience into, like, a rhymed meter situation, how will you not celebrate that guy's contribution to the world? Because he's the best at that. You know, you can, like, dance around the issue. I felt like when I was a kid, like 20 whatever, early 20s, and I got the whole bullshit fucking New Dylan thing, which was like, sucks if you're a songwriter and you're just trying. And I never felt like I was, like, compared to a lot of people, I never felt like I was, like, particularly, like, emulating Dylan. I was like, guy with a lot of words in my songs, you know?
Yeah.
Basically. Like, melodically, I don't think I ever, like, was trying, you know?
Right.
I just had a lot
it's just
of,
the cadence. The,
just had a lot of words
the
in my
verbiage, yeah.
Yeah, just a bunch of words. And it's like, okay, well, that's what folk music is, for one. And the thing with Dylan is, like, he admits to it, and I think multiple times, that obviously he was a Woody Guthrie,
right,
you know, fucking, like, impersonator.
Right.
I mean, he literally was.
Right.
He literally came to New York City and played Woody Guthrie songs.
Yeah.
And sounded exactly like this dude.
Yeah.
Went and fucking was like a super fan and, like, tracked him down on, like, his fucking hospital bed. So he's not immune to that thing that makes you gravitate towards stuff you like. But I don't know. I guess what I was saying is, like, when I was getting those questions all the time and, like, labeled that way, I, like, purposely, which is so, like, sort of cowardly, and I don't know, I would, like, play down the fact that I, like, liked
right,
Dylan, because I felt like I had to, like, in interviews and stuff. I'm like, oh, no, I don't know, it's cool or whatever.
I like lots of
stuff. I don't
stuff.
think I, like, really denied it, but
Right.
I remember being like, you know,
not giving into it.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not gonna, like, go into, like, my favorite Dylan songs, because that's, like, all you're gonna write about if I fucking say that right now, you know?
Yeah. But did you, and obviously Simon Joyner is the point of entry for a lot of this stuff for you, but, like, when you started writing songs and you were writing lyrics and early on kind of figured out that words appealed to you, but, like, was there a series of things you had to do to improve, you know, your wordsmithery?
I mean, obviously I always wanted to be better, and I always wanted to make better songs, but, like, what is better? And everything is objective, and everything is subjective, and everything is sort of like where you're at the time when you're, like, expressing yourself. So,
I mean, did you get to, was there a point where you where more revision entered the picture in your process, or where,
I think at an earlier age, I would just finish a song and that would be it, record it, because it was oftentimes, like, finish it, record it that same afternoon on the 4-track, and that was the song, and that was it. So, yeah, as, I guess, my process of recording and definitely, like, collaborating with Mike Mogus and the Bright Eyes stuff, and then subsequent, like, producers and shit, you get more into, like, you know, let's work on this more, and let's revise, and that definitely crept into, like, the word or songwriting part of it, and I wanted to, you know, put my best foot forward as far as, like, what I could do on that aspect of the music. So, yeah, I got into the habit of writing, like, multiple verses for a given song, you know, whereas maybe I would have, like, you know, say there's 3 verses in a song, like, I would have just done it and that would be it.
Right.
But I got into, like, okay, I'm going to write 12 verses for this song.
Right, so, like, around Lifted, maybe.
Yeah, and then I'm going to go back and pick my favorites, which I feel like which maybe potentially backfired a little bit in the sense of like I think like a lot of my songs from verse to verse like jump so heavily like from
because you cut out a bunch of stuff.
Well, or just like like I had this thought, I was focused on this thought one day, right, and then a week later wrote like an entirely
yeah.
I feel like some of my songs suffer from like what is he talking about? But I also like music. I also like songs like that are even if they jump subject to subject or just the second verse doesn't feel like it's that connected to the first verse. As long as
I don't know. I don't.
As long as it's a good verse,
right? I don't know. I don't think you have that problem at all. I mean, the opposite. I think your songs have a high rate of continuity in terms of like once the kind of idea is once the listener is clear on what the idea is, it's very kind of consistent in terms of like sticking to different ways of looking at that idea or something.
Yeah. No, for the first time in my life, just the other day, I was doing this like, which happens all the time here in LA, but I would never have done it really in my life, which is like trying to like co-write like a person. Yeah. So I was trying to do it, and I'm terrible at it. I realized that for starters, but then I feel like so much of my songwriting process is like, I don't know, just very like individualized to the way my brain works, that it's hard to transfer to other people. And I think that's why my songs have, I don't know, maybe a not strange, but there's a, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm envious of certain abilities of, like my friend Taylor Goldsmith from Dawes is a guy. He just can write a perfect song after a perfect song. It always comes back around. It always
the metaphors
like
and stuff.
It connects to the theme of the song, and it's like beautifully packaged, perfect. Or like Gillian Welch and Dave, like those kind of songs. Those kind of people write. They like I love their songs, and they are so perfectly developed and executed. It's like I don't
thorough.
know. Yeah, and it's like turning in, and I don't mean that's maybe would sound like a slight or something, but I mean it as a compliment, which is like it's like turning in like a beautiful fucking thesis for your like doctorate of songwriting. Like every time they finish the song, it's like, dang.
Right.
Like, now this is like, put that in the American canon of great songwriting. Like, you did it. Ding, ding, ding. And I feel like my shit's always too fucked up and, like, weird and not understandable.
I was just thinking about that story that you told me about when you were sort of ended up doing an impromptu performance for a class of Berkeley School of Music students where you just thought you were going to be visiting, and then you were asked to play a song, and after the song the students could take questions. And what was the question? What'd she ask?
She asked she raised her hand and she said this is after like a few questions about like what's it like to like ride on a tour bus, and then this sweet girl rose her hand and she said, so you don't care if you sing in pitch at all? You just don't care. And I tried to be like really like respectful. I was like, well, I think like I've never been a trained vocalist, and I think if you express yourself in a way that feels right for you, that's okay. And I gravitate towards vocalists with strange sound, strange, inflections, but yeah,
you just don't care at all. You're like, I care a little bit sometimes.
It's like I care a lot. Damn it. I just can't do it. But no, Livingston Taylor, who's James Taylor's brother, was the fucking
professor.
So he's the one that talked me into this whole thing. And then I sing, and then I just was sitting in the class, and then he's like, and now Mr. Bright Eyes is going to sing a song for you guys. And I'm like, God damn it. So I'm just trying not to be fucking rude. I'm like,
what song did you do? Do you remember?
I played Lenders in the Temple, which is was my first solo album, which I had just written. It was like my newest song. But so I played it, and it was very awkward for like 30 students. And then he like stops and he's like, looks around, he gets this big crazy look on his face, and he's like, looks at the class and he's like, how about those consonants?
Oh, wow.
I'm like, what? But
how about those consonants?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was impressed by how he's like, he explained that I overpronounce my consonants.
Wow, that's a good. That's what they teach you to do at the Berklee School of Music.
I guess so. That was his big takeaway from my fucking like existential dilemma, fucking death god song. Was like, how about those consonants? I was like, Jesus fucking Christ! I don't know how much your fucking parents are paying you to go to this school, but get the fuck out.
Oh my god. I mean, a lot of songwriters describe, the classic kind of Paul McCartney story, the ham and eggs, yesterday, syllables going with a melody, and you gibberish your way through until... Is that sort of how the lyric writing begins for you, or are you also writing down phrases that appeal to you or turns of phrase here and there?
More both, but I would say more the former. Like, my typical like songwriting process is like just either on guitar or piano, finding some chords that feel right or feel good enough to sing to, and then just like singing gibberish words. Back in the day would have been 4-track or something, but now it's like a voice memo on the phone and getting a sort of semblance of a melody, and then I write the words to the melody, and then I'm really not... Sometimes I'll have some good lyrics like right off the bat, or like some line or something will come like right with the melody, which becomes like the seed of the song. But a lot of times I just force myself just to get something on the paper, because I feel like phrasing wise and whatever else, it's like I need to solidify the melody. I need to have some words to sing to it, or else it remains kind of like nebulous, where I can't remember it when I go back to play it.
Right.
But if there's words to sing, I will remember it. So I do that, but with the absolute, and probably like 98% of the time, like rewrite the words,
Right.
Or maybe I'll like the rhyme scheme. Like I'll like kind of like how some words sound in the gibberish, like early state. And so I'll be like, okay, like phonetically, I like how this works, but I'm not saying anything interesting or cool or relevant. So I'll focus on finding words that fit phonetically with the chord progression and the demo, but that I like more as like poetry,
Right.
So,
and then do you sit separately for a period of time, like separate from the melody, separate from the song, as you are really fleshing in the bones of the words? Because it seems like it must be a pretty intensive process, since there are, as you say, a lot of words and sometimes a lot of verses and ideas and some very refined turns of phrase and stuff like that. Like, I mean, is there a lot of time spent just sort of focus only on the words, or do you always have to be kind of listening to the song as you're...
No, I mean, and this is something I like want to actually improve on, which is, I feel like there's more I could do with melodies, and I tend to like once I get like my stanza and my melodic structure, I could write 200 fucking verses to the same fucking song.
Right.
You know, it's
Right.
like easy.
Right.
You know, about like whatever subject, you know.
Right.
So it's more like focusing like, okay, what do I want this thing to be about? It's great, and that's where like, you know, collaborating comes in. And you know, I don't feel like I'm the most like musical person in the world. I'm not like a great guitar player. I'm not like a great piano player. Like I do it in a very like utilitarian fashion. Like where like I feel like the thing I do that is interesting to the world is like the words and the vocal melody and the sort of presentation of some idea or something that might be interesting to somebody. Like I'm under no like illusion that I'm like
Right.
some kind of sick guitar player or
Right.
piano player. But I also am smart enough to like surround myself with people that are very gifted in all those like pursuits. And I've made it part of my life to find those kind of people and attach myself to them and try to bring as much out of them as I can and have them bring as much out of me as they can, and like, you know, marry our talents so that, you know, at the end of the day it might be a complete picture of musicality and poetry and whatever, songwriting and concept. And you know, I don't know, it's all like an art project to me. It's like I want it to be fucking dope. I want like people to like walk away being like, God damn, that's like gave me the heebie-jeebies when I heard it. I was like, ooh, because you know that stuff when you hear it.
Yeah. What shows that you've been to as a fan or as a concert goer do you remember most fondly as having been, you know, like the feeling you hope that people get at your show of like, just wow, that is fucking the zone right there?
I'm trying to think of like ones that have really knocked me off my feet. Like actually I saw David Byrne one time at Telluride Bluegrass Festival. He had probably 20 people on stage. That was like one that knocked me out. Like some of those cats that like that are just really like, yeah, they're super popular and they're super long-term artists, but until you see them, you don't. I had the same reaction to like Bjork when I saw her. Like I went with my friend Nikki from the Yeah Yeahs, like open for her. Like this is in Boston, like I don't know, fucking 2004 or 5 or something. I went and saw her play. She had like a crazy dope band, like a harp player and like all these singers. You know, just like some shit you see, you're just like, ooh, this is like out, like this is like too potent to really even digest. I saw fucking Beyonce at some weird like Irish or some fucking festival, but I got because we were playing too, but I had like the right badge or whatever, so I gotta be like kind of like in the barricade,
Right.
just watching her do her power. I was like, yeah, of course this is like one of the most powerful women in the world. She is like amazing. Like she is like fucking queen of fucking pop music. Like I get it. You know what I mean? Like I don't even like listen to her records, but I was just like,
holy shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a testament to like, I don't know, you can talk endlessly about like how marketing or record labels or radio or whatever like fools people into like buying into like a bunch of bullshit, which is true, but there's also something true about there are some people that like fundamentally at their core are so interesting and so artistic and so intriguing that people are drawn to them like a fucking moth to a flame. Like that's just, you can't, like there's no denying it. You know, it's just like people go to it. I saw I played the same stage as fucking Hall & Oates in Europe like a couple summers ago. And like, you know, like Hall & Oates from, you know, like when I was a kid. They fucking ruled.
Yeah.
I was just like, these like old ass dudes from Detroit just crushing some weird fucking soul rock music in the middle of like, you know, fucking Denmark or wherever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
And he's like, it was insane.
Yeah.
I was like, you don't get this good by like, no. They've literally been doing this since the 60s. And they are just this good.
Yeah, that's like Lionel Richie, too. Yeah. Like, if you see Lionel Richie live, you're just like, oh, yeah, Lionel Richie is a fucking amazing performer and has a million awesome songs.
Yeah, exactly. And
it does restore one's faith in that at least sometimes the things that are popular because they're legitimately the best things.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
And like, yeah, if you can do that for that long and be, I think, not a facsimile of something else, like when everyone's influenced and everyone's inspired by stuff, but I think that, to me, that's like the real cut and dry shit. It's like, where it's like, if you can stay in the business long enough and keep putting out like creative output long enough, that you become a thing that is like singular to your vision. I think that's what every like artist should like try to get to, which is just like, it doesn't matter what it is, and it doesn't matter what it takes to get there. That's what I respect anyway. It's like, if you can become a singular version of yourself where no one else is going to confuse you with anyone. They're just going to be like, oh, that's that girl, that's that guy, you know? Yeah, I know what that is. Sounds like them, you know? And if people imitate you, fine, but they're a facsimile. Like, if you are your, like, singular self, then, like, I feel like you've won, you know? Like, in the world of, like, the fucked up world of, like, creative commerce entanglements, you know, where like the money is fucking the artistry and vice versa or whatever. But like, you know what I mean? Like, if you can become yourself in a public forum, and then I mean, I think that's the first goal, and then the second goal, if you can create that and then achieve like longevity, then you've like really won. Then you've like, that's, to me, that's like the ultimate goal. It's like, be like your undeniable self, whatever that is, and produce art for people, and then continue it, you know,
for as long as you want.
Exactly. Until old fucking Mother Cancer tears you down, or whatever the fuck gets you. Timmy Taylor fucking car crash, but you know, if you just, that's the coolest. That's what I admire in people, you know, something to aspire to. You know, I just want to make stuff that resonates with me, and you know, I think if I make art that feels right and relevant and like personal and immediate to me, there'll be some segment of the population of the world that will feel similar and will, you know, in their, you know, it's kind of like passing the hat at this point, but it's like, yeah, there'll be some people that'll somehow give me money, whether it's giving, you know, buying a t-shirt or going to a show or paying for a fucking stream or whatever it is, who cares? But there'll be enough people
that put a dollar forward,
right? That'll sustain me to continue my life and not have to get another job, and that is a beautiful thing, and I'm very grateful.
All right. Well, I think we
did it.
I think we did it.
I think we actually talked like normal people.
We did.
But I think I did good today.
You did great. You did great.
I think I said what I meant to say. And
thank you so much for doing this. All right, well, that brings us to the end of episode 17 of LSQ. Thank you so much for listening. And, of course, major thanks to Conor Oberst. Love you, dude. And thanks to all the folks at NAG Management and None Such Records for their help and support. In the next episode of LSQ, a conversation with Leon Bridges. That's coming up in a few weeks. After that, Dirty Projector's Dave Longstreth is my guest. Subscribe now so you get those episodes the minute they come out. And as I mentioned earlier, you can always reach me with questions and feedback on Twitter, @JennyLSQ. And also, before we go, one last thanks to the wonderful Greta Morgan of Springtime Carnivore, who wrote and recorded the LSQ theme song, and who's going to be on the road in Vampire Weekend as a touring member of the band in the months ahead. Yay! We love you, Greta. All right, talk to you next time.